Hi, everyone. It's Emil. It's Emil Guillermo. Emil Amok to you. Welcome to my Takeout, my Emil Amok's Takeout. I'm live in Canada. Why? Well, I'm here for the Edmonton Fringe, of course. Don't you mean Edinburgh? Well, it's the last week at Edinburgh in Scotland, but I'm in Canada because I didn't want to walk as far. Yes, see, I walked to Canada. It's shorter than Scotland. Yeah, Edmonton, the Edmonton Fringe. My show runs today. Hey, look, if you're in Edmonton, then you know the guy paid oodles of money to put up a poster. Emil Amok 69. Emil Amok 69 is 69? Oh, wait, well, there's an advantage. You can see that show upright or upside down. Versatile. Emil Amok 69, it's the story of our lives. The story of my life, but the story of our life. It's the story of, I mean, I can do Shakespeare. Filipino in the Renaissance, it was not that uncommon. But I could do a theatrical thing like that. But this is the story of our times. Emil Amok 69, where seek I seek a cure for my TDS. What's TDS, Emil? Well, you're going to have to see the show. You're going to have to see the show. Emil Mug 69. There's a QR code. And guess what? Just my luck. I'm doing a show today, or that's your luck, right? I'm doing a show today, Thursday at 11 p.m. 11 p.m. Emil, what is? You're doing the Tonight Show? No, I'm doing a show tonight, 11 o'clock. And that's why I'm here with you early, because I've got to put in a 12-hour day. There's your QR code. That's me. I have a different plaid shirt now. Anyway, come see the show, Edmonton Fringe. It's the biggest fringe festival in North America. Hundreds, literally hundreds of acts, and all sorts, including my little storytelling show. So check it out, please check it out. Let me bring up, our show today. Today's an anniversary day, the 21st. It's the day that Benigno Aquino, the sender of the Philippines, who was in exile, he was the main proponent, the main advocate against Ferdinand Marcos, the dictator of the Philippines. He went back in 1983, and on this day, upon his return, Aquino was shot and killed, and his assassination was the beginning of a people power that was very unique to the Philippines, and maybe the answer to how America deals with autocracy, its slide into autocracy. I bring up Professor Daniel Phil Gonzalez, my friend and cohort on these days when we talk about history in the Philippines. Hi, Dan. How are you? Let me give you your bona fides. San Francisco State University Professor Emeritus, Asian American Studies, Filipino American Studies, and he knows something about international relations too. So, Dan, welcome to the show again.
Thank you very much. It's good morning still,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I really appreciate your having me on today.
Oh, well, it is a special day because it's August 21st, and I'm here in Edmonton, where there is a sizable Filipino American community, almost as large as Winnipeg. Winnipeg has the largest in terms of percentage, but I asked some people about Aquino, and they said, "Oh, I had the wrong date." I said, "Oh, August 16th, Aquino," and they said, "Oh no, you're wrong. August 21st. It's the 20." They corrected me, and it was something. And because the Filipinos who are here in Edmonton came because of Marcos, primarily. In the 70s, they came after or during Marcos, and after Marcos, and after Aquino, they came here, and a lot of them are here post 2000. So tell me about the Aquino assassination, and why am I wrong to think that it could be a possible answer to America?
That's really dangerous. That's
Yeah,
really dangerous. The
yeah.
way that the Trump administration is interpreting threats at this point
Hmm.
puts us in a very dangerous territory.
Be,
They could say that there's an implication
mhm.
that we're encouraging people to commit assassination, and yeah, I don't think assassination of somebody in the Trump administration would solve anything, frankly.
Well,
It
who mentioned assassination? I wasn't
Yeah.
talking about
Well, there's an
assassination.
assassination. The assassination of opposition is exactly what happened in the
Hmm.
Philippines.
Yeah.
And you and I were already talking about what the possible changes would be if people who were here in exile in the
Hmm.
United States and elsewhere in the world. There were a lot of people, especially on the left, that were in exile in Europe,
Hmm.
and some in Hong Kong. So some of those people were less threatened.
Yeah.
But people on the radical left were in the United States and in Europe, particularly Amsterdam and Copenhagen. Anyway, you'll recall that. I don't
Yeah.
want to get too far into the
Well,
details.
it's the reason why there are a lot of Filipinos in Europe. The diaspora is far flung, the political
Sure.
diaspora, and it's not just the economic diaspora where people have to go because they want to make a living, but uh, to go for political freedom, political
It
asylum.
was clearly political and somewhat economic,
Yeah,
because there were a lot of members of the upper middle class and upper class
yeah,
that were critical of Marcos, whether they had been long-term critics and radically disposed,
hmm,
towards the radical left. Most of them were not. They were only mildly critical
yeah,
by what I would say are contemporary standards. Okay, so this would be the equivalent of like moderate Democrats who have been critical of Mr. Trump. Yeah, there was an assassination attempt, so we know how the general public would respond to that. And Mr. Trump walked away looking heroic.
yeah.
Um,
Well, to get back to Aquino went back in '83, was gunned down by Marcos loyalists.
and it was somewhat predictable. I had a real problem with the way that he was going back and the timing.
Yeah.
There were a lot of people. There was a contingent actually with Aquino
Hmm.
that were intent on, being a very vocal opposition, and they were actually intent on being the progenitors of the movement that actually occurred as a result of Aquino's assassination. So that's what that's about.
So the progenitors, you mean they were going to actually inseminate this movement,
You got it.
birth it? They were going to birth
You
it.
got it.
So
The process was already going on.
yeah,
You and I were talking about this back then.
yeah,
The
back in the '80s. Well, the
Yeah, yeah,
most of the exiles were in the Bay Area, Northern California, where
a
we
lot,
were
a
a
lot.
lot,
There were
and
two places there was significant concentration. One was New York,
mhm,
and one was San Francisco.
yeah.
And there weren't very many people who were writing about that at the time. And
Except for
you
the
are
ethnic media, the ethnic media, the Philippine news,
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
and we're the publication that I was affiliated with, and then also you would see local papers like the San Francisco Chronicle, and the San
And
Francisco
yeah,
Examiner.
and our
Phil
mutual
Bronstein.
friend Leslie Guevara
Oh yeah, yeah,
did
Leslie.
some excellent coverage. Nick Nolte
Yeah,
did some.
Carl Nolte. Carl Nolte.
I'm sorry, Nick, Nick's
Nick is
cousin,
the actor. She didn't.
Carl
She
Carl Nolte.
yeah,
Actually,
but
were they married at the time,
they
Leslie and
they
Carl?
were
But yeah,
married at the time. But
yeah.
but 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 more notably, it was the work at the Examiner by Phil Bronstein, right?
Uh, Bronstein was at the was he at
Examiner.
the
He
really
was at
was he
the
at the Examiner at the
he,
time?
he- well, he might have been at the
No, he
Chronicle
was with the
first
Chronicle.
and then moved to the Examiner.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Right. To
because
be
he had way too much ego to continue to be the publisher and managing editor of San Francisco Chronicle.
No,
Massive
no, he
ego.
wasn't. He wasn't the. He became the executive editor of the Examiner, right?
Yeah, no, he was actually managing editor also of the Chronicle for a short period of time.
Was he?
I don't want to get lost in this. I don't want to get
Okay, all right,
lost in
all
this.
right.
But
Let's all right.
he had gotten an
Let's
award,
forget.
got all
Look,
kinds of recognition because he had gotten an award and gotten all kinds of recognition because he was in uh, Manila when the People's Power uh, demonstrations were occurring. And we've lost you, Emil. I'm still in the show, but you're not. Okay. Anyway, uh, I'm waiting for Emil to get back, and I don't know if he will. He was having problems with the battery in his iPad. He's gonna definitely have to take that thing in to get it worked on. Anyway, I'm gonna look up Bronstein and make sure that we get all that stuff right. Yeah, I used to call him Mr. Stone while he was married to Sharon Stone, just to insult him. The guy's he had such a massive ego, you know, and you know he just loved to get into demonstrative kinds of behavior. Yeah, you're back.
man. All right, we're back. We had a temporary outage.
Yeah, well, I was worried. How did you check your battery? What's your battery doing right
You
now?
know, I'm still at about 2%, unfortunately. Hey, we're live. We're live. We're still live. So if you
Okay.
hung in there, if you hung in there with us, it wasn't because we were talking about the subject matter that we were like. I mean, a lot of people who might have been watching might have thought, "Oh, they crossed the line. They're not South Park. They're not worth 1.5 billion dollars." And so they went after them and they canceled them on the spot live. But no, it was my battery. It's my it's my
Yeah, you're
battery that went there.
you're right. He was at the Examiner at the
Yeah,
time,
he when
and
he
he was also remember when he was in the Philippines, but that's after Aquino was assassinated.
yeah. So look, we don't need to get into. All right,
No, he
next you're
was
going to
he
want to
was
talk about.
associated that movement, the Nino Aquino movement, started here in San Francisco.
Yeah, but
And
next you're going to want to talk about Sharon Stone if you want to get into deeper.
well, I
This
used to call Bronstein Mr. Stone,
this
just
is
to
a hey
just to piss
look.
him off.
He was. I only met her once or twice. Oh, look, let's not talk. Well, that's a separate story talking about Sharon Stone and
Well, you and I were paired up at the second Countdown Manila event that was held at San Francisco State in
mhm,
1985.
we were.
He and I were co-chairs, co-moderators of the
Mhm,
first Countdown Manila event that was held at SF State in 1984.
mhm.
So not only had I met him more than once, I was forced to work with his massive ego
Wait,
as
all
a
right. Look,
co-moderator.
we'll have to talk about this off campus.
Yeah. Well, anyway,
Oh, yeah.
he didn't have any kind of real political position, but he was closely associated with the people who would eventually develop the Nino Aquino movement, and he was closely associated with other members of the family. Okay.
Yes, well,
Uh,
that's true. Look, here's the thing I will say about Phil: strong reporter, dedicated reporter, and he got the story. And he was nominated for a Pulitzer. He didn't win. I think he was a Pulitzer finalist, but he
yeah.
should have. That was work that should have been done. And one of the few places, when the Examiner and the Chronicle that focused on that story because the epicenter was the Bay Area for the exiles.
And
So
he also had the guts to be in the Philippines. I mean, that's part of his ego, right? Is he
yeah,
wanted to be on the spot and in the danger zone,
yeah,
and he should be admired and respected for that. But
yeah.
he was in the Philippines, and he was well known by the political actors in the
Hmm.
Philippines as well. So he had good reason that he was able to get the story.
Yeah, all right. So I don't want to get into Phil Bronstein anymore. All right. And sorry, Phil, we're not going to talk
Mr.
about you
Stone,
anymore.
Mr. Stone, yeah, well, ex
No, no,
Stone.
no. I want to talk about Aquino because here's
You're
what
going to
happened.
apologize for insulting Phil Bronstein? What are
I'm
you
not
talking?
insulting him. I'm just saying,
I am. I
I
am.
know
You're
you are insulting
apologizing for
him.
me. Yeah.
Phil's my friend still after all these years. I've never seen him I
I
haven't seen
mean,
him.
even after he burned Leslie,
I haven't seen him in 15 years, so I don't know. So anyway, look, Aquino. Aquino goes back. He gets shot. He gets assassinated. A huge funeral takes place, and 1 million people are on the streets.
yeah,
That's the relevant point. And 1 million people on the streets. I don't remember a time when people thought or conceived of 1 million people on the streets. Like there was a 1 million man march. There were all these marches in the U.S. subsequent to that in like the 90s and the 2000s. But 1 million people on the streets, I don't think it was really a thing until the Aquino funeral, when there was 1 million people in following the casket in through the streets of Manila. And then after, a few years later, when the EDSA revolution took place
yeah,
and there were millions on the street to oust the dictator Marcos. I mean, when have you heard of 1 million people anywhere until, I mean, that would had to be the first time.
yeah. I think it could happen in other places than the United States. I think people might be able to coordinate that well enough. But it all comes down to how well coordinated that kind of movement would be, and it took
Yeah.
time to build that. It took several years to build that movement. The
Yeah.
the anti Marcos movement started very early
Mhm.
in his second term,
In the
right?
80s, right? I mean, early 80s,
No, there was an anti Marcos
70s.
movement all through the 70s, but
Oh,
it
yeah.
was coming from the left,
Yeah.
and a lot of it was coming from the exiled, the people who were
Right.
exiled to other countries.
I
Uh,
mean, but wasn't it something though? Uh, to first see, I mean, I had never heard of 1 million people anywhere until that funeral. And I remember being at several locales. Well, it's hard to get around, but I was at several locales, getting images of 1 million people following that casket. And then seeing later, because I was reporting for CNN and NBC at the time, and it was incredible. And then
yeah,
I didn't get to the EDSA revolution, but the same thing happened there to oust Marcos. So, what would it take here in the United States? Because we saw the uh, the No Kings rally, and there were, I guess, the estimate was about a 1 million throughout the country,
yeah,
which
and
dissipated.
that's exactly what I'm saying. I'm saying it has to be organized at the national level as well.
Yeah,
The whole purpose of those demonstrations was to show that people were locally involved, that it was something that was happening throughout the country rather than something that was happening only in the big cities. Okay, that
yeah,
was
yeah,
that was really the purpose. It was to show that even in red states, that was a
yeah,
big deal, right?
yeah,
That
and
even
also
in red
right,
states, tens of thousands of people were showing up, not
and
just in the big cities.
right, multiple places at the same time. So it was
Yes.
kind of like the quantum physics of protest.
Yes. So can you
Everything happened.
organize that so that it becomes national? Can you organize it so it becomes national? And I think you could, but it would take time. I think a
Yeah.
lot of it would have to do with how severe the problem becomes, and we
Mhm.
haven't seen how severe the problem is going to be for all of those people who voted for Trump, because I'm going to say this outright, because they stupidly believed that he could fix what was wrong with their personal economy, right? uh,
Mhm.
I cannot imagine how people can be that inane, okay, in terms
Well,
of their failure to understand how the economy really works, okay. To listen to this fool, They didn't even ask, how are you going to do that? The first question you should ask is, how are you going to do that? They just went ahead and voted for the guy. Hello. You froze on me, dude. There's a lot of dead time, Emil. Hello? Boy, this is a scrub show. People aren't going to watch this. I mean, I wouldn't watch it. Would you? I mean, yeah. Yeah. Emil was asking me whether or not millions of people could come out and force a government change. And I think he's just saying we need to understand that that's possible. And I think it is. I just don't think it's possible without much change of circumstance and mostly organization on the side that would be in favor of a restoration of more democratic process in American society. We've already gone way too far to ostensibly what we could call the extreme right in American society. It's just that people haven't felt the effects yet, and that on the other hand, there are a lot of people who are very much in favor of the kind of political activism, judicial activism, and social activism, frankly, that has brought us to this point. There are people who really believe in both the socio-political objectives of Project 2025. They probably haven't even read that, but what they're experiencing and what they anticipate is entirely contained within Project 2025. It's all there, 900 pages. It's all there. Okay. But the American public is a combination of eagerness for simple answers, and a commitment to a version of the American myth, okay, that is heavily rooted in class mythology and racism. Yeah. Nothing's changed much. That element in American society has always been there. The people who think that way have always been there. And they rise and fall as a kind of movement. It's just not that organized. It's not that, but it appears to be organized because of their commitment to the direction taken by a leader in whom they invest faith and confidence. The Democrats and the left don't have such a leader at this point. I think the closest that the left and the Democrats have ever gotten to having a charismatic leader was President Obama. To a lesser extent, in recent years, at least in this side of the millennia, it would be Clinton, and then before that, Reagan, and before that, Kennedy, and before that, I guess FDR, Franklin Delano Roosevelt. Right? There's some interesting characteristics, right? That among those people, there was one common aspect, and that was that they could deliver a speech. They were competent in terms of rhetoric, and they were competent in terms of being able to communicate at a much higher level than the current president communicates, but at an effective level. Okay? One of the things that I noted about the reaction to Mr. Obama was, on one hand, people were saying this guy's really great. He's got rhetorical capability, very intelligent, and he was praised for that from one side of the political spectrum. And on the other side, he was criticized for being too pretentious and professorial, I think the word was. Now, obviously, I might be accused of having a bias after having had an active 52-year career as an academic. And that might be so. I certainly was criticized not for having a deficient vocabulary, but I was criticized for having an overly let's say, colorful, vocabulary. And I have tried to move away from the use of Anglo-Saxon terminology that has both sexual and, let's say, bodily function descriptiveness. Okay. Because it's all become the vogue, and I don't want to be associated with the level of coarse language that seems to have become very popular. I don't know how that happened. I think the formation of that level of communication as a standard is very problematic for me. Not because of the use of curse words, as they're called, but because of the lack of discussion, serious discussion, fact-based discussion, values-based discussion, not just talking about the values, but actually acting and discussing subject matter important to our quality of life in a manner that is actually consistent with developing a real and accurate understanding of our circumstances. That's what disgusts me about the way political and social conversation is occurring at this point in time. And my criticisms for liberals and progressives and the Democratic Party specifically is um, that they have been very limited in attacking the people who have led us to the current circumstance. They essentially have been tried to be polite. Um, their self-concept of political correctness, which is a term that was again developed as a criticism of positions taken by people that were very real and moral and ethical, but which were seen as emanating from the left, were seen as being the product of left of center culture, of so-called progressive and even radical culture, when the reality was that that discussion and those kinds of social goals were about equality and justice. Hello. Boy, that was a long one, man. I don't know if anyone's going to come around to this. I certainly wouldn't. I wouldn't. I wouldn't do it.
Hey, so I think we're going to end this
Yeah, we have to.
because my battery is just too bad right now. But look, we'll come back. How about we come back at 5 o'clock or 4 o'clock your time? Good.
It's possible. I have people. I have a mechanic, or I actually use an electrician, an automotive electrician, and coming by this afternoon. But it's possible. I might be able to do 5 o'clock.
Or five your time, or maybe we can come back. Well, we can talk. We can talk about this off camera. But if you're listening, hey, thanks, Dan. I'll what were you doing while there was nothing? You were just.
I was just. I kept talking about what we were talking about.
Oh,
And I
good,
talked.
good.
Yeah, and
I
I talked about language
Yeah,
and the failures of the left
yeah.
to also the lack of charismatic leadership on
Well,
the left.
and my goodness, if you look at what the things that we lack, or that the situation lacks now, a strong leader, charismatic
Yeah,
leader. I mean, Aquino was the to use Max Weber, or was it Durkheim? I don't know. He's the charismatic leader that could begin to step up to Marcos, and Marcos, I guess, realized that. But it was just one of those things where who is there in America? Bernie Sanders, Gavin Newsom, JB Pritzker, you know. I don't.
I think Newsom, from an image, from a capability perspective, all three of those are quite good.
Yeah.
But in terms of overall image, I think Newsom is the closest you're going to get to that. Um,
To someone who's like that charismatic, or and he's getting hit by all sides, from
yeah,
what
he
I can
is.
tell. I mean, people, and yet what he's suggesting with California going through a change in order to fight what Texas seems to be close to doing, is, I mean, it's exactly kind of the right thing that Democrats should be doing, to come to the knife fight with at least a sharp stick, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
I
well,
mean,
and what I like about it is it's still up to the voters in the state of California, right?
right.
It has to be
It's
passed.
democracy,
Yeah,
right?
it's and
It,
so all of the guff that the Republicans are in California
mhm.
are criticizing him for at this point I think is falling on fallow ground. I don't think it's going to be, especially when you have the comparison of Texas, right,
Yeah.
and Ohio and places that and Louisiana, right,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
now yeah, Arkansas, right, where
Mm-hmm.
there's a group that has now established a white only community, right, and so
Yeah.
yeah. Why
Well,
is
yeah,
all
that
this happening now? I mean,
I mean that white only community in Arkansas, it's freaky because now we see everything that was protected by that was on the path of the Civil Rights Act of 64, the Voting Rights Act for housing, everything that was intended to undo the ill effects of slavery, right? I'm being undone, and now we have Trump saying, well, the Smithsonian can't talk honestly about slavery. That I mean, as a
uh,
historian,
yeah,
you've got to be. I mean, this is the undoing of history,
it
right?
wasn't that bad. It wasn't that bad. I mean, just look at Uncle Tom. It wasn't that bad,
Blacks could dance. They could still sing and dance. If they could still sing and dance, they had life. They had joy, right? Is slavery
Yeah, some
really?
of them volunteered. You
Is
know,
slavery that bad? I mean, they had joy. They could sing. They had. Oh, I got a call. So something's working. It- I don't know who that was, but we dispensed with that call. Hey, so Dan, I think we kind of got it. I think we kind of got. We could talk. We could talk again later. I mean, I kind of missed you going on, but I knew you would go on. So there you
yeah,
still maintain the audience. They were there.
yeah. I talked about justice
Yep.
that
Did you freeze on
people
me? No,
people
you
were
froze
getting.
on me.
Yeah, no.
Oh boy, this is what happens when you're not a multi-billion
Hello,
dollar corporation and you're just
right.
two Filipino guys talking about the news. All right, we say goodbye to Dan. Dan, bye Dan.
Thank you.
And
Thanks.
I'm gonna say goodbye too. I'm gonna say goodbye. Oh, Dan, is Dan there? No, Dan's not there. Dan's not there. All right. Hey, oh, you're
Hello.
there. You're there now. Oh, we can't get rid of
Yeah,
you.
but you put me on the right, but it's okay.
No, no, I'll put you on the left. But your face, you're not your face is frozen.
uh,
Now oh, your audio is there. Is that it?
yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
all right. Well, see, this is what happens. Like I said, this is why South Park can do what it does with the nude Trump and the talking penis because they're getting $1.5 billion from Paramount Plus. You protect your one point. If you're making $1.5 million for somebody, I mean, they're getting paid 1.5 million because 1.5 million. No, they're getting paid more than that. What was it again? Was it 1.5 billion they were getting?
Who, South Park?
Yeah,
Nah, no, it could never be that much. I don't know.
1.5. Was it 1.5 million? No, it was more than
No,
that.
it's way more than that.
Way more than that. It was. Oh, now we got to look at it. We got to look
Yeah,
at it.
I'm gonna look it up.
I mean, they're getting a lot of money. South Park from Paramount. Uh, I think it was in the $1 billion range. I honestly do because billion is like nothing now, right? $1 billion from Paramount. There was a good article in Variety that spelled it out, but I think it's 1.5 billion. Yeah, I was sort of touched by or the thought of it was just I couldn't believe that it could be one point, but
Oh
now
yeah, 1.5 billion over the length of their contract.
right, so they're getting paid 1.5 billion. So it's
Yeah, yeah,
that's a hell
over
of a
the
lot of
length of
money.
their contract. But what's the length of their contract? Right? Is that
One
over?
1.5 billion years, I think. So it's like a million years.
Yeah, 5 years. It's a 5-year contract. So
All
that's a
right.
lot of. That's still That's big
So,
time.
so you can still talk about 1.5 billion as a real thing. That's what I'm saying. We're not making 1.5 billion dollars.
Yeah,
That's why our
that's
technology crap.
300 million a year.
Oh
Yeah,
man,
see, here's the tragedy of America. Here's the tragedy of America is consider what 1.5 billion dollars over 5 years could do for public education in
oh
America
come on. You
today.
want to educate the public, Dan?
Well,
The public
South
needs
Park is educating the public.
well, they are unfortunately, but I
They
mean,
actively look. Who are the main characters? They're kids in schools.
Cartman, yeah, Cartman.
Yeah, and so education and their schooling is always part of the background, and sometimes it's the foreground. Sometimes it's the central topic.
Yeah, it's
Okay,
the counselor who,
that's right.
the good counselor. Yeah. No, look, I'm just saying that were, if we made a 1.5 billion for somebody, our technology wouldn't fail on us. But because, but, be, but because, somehow my battery, this device here is weak. We
No,
cut
it's kind
off.
of tweaky. It's tweaky. Either that
Yeah.
or it's possessed.
Yeah. All
So
right. But
you
look,
got to go to Apple Store, and
yeah.
you should consult a priest.
All right, that's true. Thank you very much. Yeah, Eve. Eve has the apple. That's the problem. Eve is holding the apple. Hey,
Yeah.
listen, I've got to run, but let's try
All
to
right. Yeah, me
text
too.
me, text me and say when we can redo a little bit this afternoon. We'll make it short. But there he go, Daniel, Professor Daniel Phil Gonzalez, Professor Emeritus,
Sayonara. All power to the.
San Francisco State University. College of Ethnic Studies. Oh, now you see everything. Now you see where I am here. I gotta change my. Oh, there it is. I get the front view. I get the close up. That's why his head was bigger than mine. Hey everyone, thank you. I'm here in Edmonton, Canada, as you know, and you should go check out Emil Amok's no Emil Amok 69. That's the show I'm doing. Um, and I'm trying to here go to this show. Is this the show I want you to talk about? Yeah, Edmonton Fringe, Emil Muck 69, Edmonton Fringe tonight at 11 o'clock. If you're in Canada, you'll want to be indoors and you'll want to be at Acacia Hall to see Emil Amok 69. Tickets, go to that website, tickets.fringe theater, that's theater TRE, right? fringetheater.ca, ca for Canada. /event/ 601:6535. Oh, couldn't you make that easier for us, Emil? Well, if you're looking at it, you can see. You can and the fringe is interesting because you're going to see some things that are not quite ready for Broadway, but maybe you'll see some things that will be ready for Broadway. I mean, there's a show called Rat Academy that people are talking about them saying, Rat Academy? Is this a thing you can see on Broadway? Yeah, because there's something on Broadway now. It's about something in Canada about Greece, bear Greece. It's Greece, a Canadian Greece or something that started off in Canada. Anyway, so my show tonight at 11, I'll probably mention a little about what we were talking about today, Benigno Aquino, his assassination. Is it possible? Could there be a million-person march to exile, to send Trump into exile to Russia? Oh, that would be something. Anyway, we leave you with a little loving kindness because we're all about love. And not about hate, we're all about love. My guru says we're all about love. And so, as I wish for me, I wish for you. May you be safe. May you be happy. May you be healthy. And may you live with ease. Emil Guillermo here. Till next time. Mahal Kita. I mean that. I mean that. Where's that button that says we're going to end this? Mahal Kita, he says. That means, yeah, oh, here. Mahal Kita. 11 o'clock tonight, Edmonton, Acacia Hall. Emil